Hey y'all, Jeffrey here. Welcome back to another PCT Q&A video. Let's dive right in. Okay, so I posted an Instagram story quizzing my audience, asking for their burning questions about the PCT, and I got lots of really good questions. So let's dive right in. Just so you know, I thru-hiked the PCT in 2024, just finished a few weeks ago, so all of this is pretty fresh in my mind. So question one is, how do you plan sleeps, camping versus host homes? Well, planning your sleep. So there's lots of ways. So, and it varied. While I was with the Tramily, when I was trying to stay with a group of people, every evening we would sit down and talk about how far we wanted to go the next day. We would use the Far Out app to see what the options are, what the campsites were coming up. And we would all make a tentative plan, like, oh, we want to go 24 miles, or we want to go, 20 to 30 miles. There's a great campsite in 24 miles that has 6 spots, and there's 6 of us. So as long as nobody's there, that's perfect. And there's water there. Water is always a big topic. Wet camping, which means camping near water, is always preferred. It's so much easier. Dry camping just means that you're camping somewhere without water, so you just have to plan ahead of time to make sure that you grab enough water at your last water source, that you have enough water to cook and for the night, for the next morning, and whatnot. So we'd usually make that plan the evening before, and the next day, that's what we would shoot for. And, you can't be married to that plan. Like, some people might have a good day and be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go a few more miles, but I'll see you tomorrow. You'll catch up with me. Some people, which was usually my case, might be like, hey, I'm not going to make it that far. I'm going to camp a couple miles before you, but I'll catch up tomorrow. But that's usually how it happened. Now, when I was camping alone in the beginning, especially when I was hiking and just alone in general, I played it much more by ear. I would hike until 4-ish, 5-ish p.m. And then I would start, depending on when I was starting to get over it, I would look in the app and see what was coming up, what camp options were going to present themselves in the next couple hours, and then go from there. So when I was by myself, I would be much more on the fly. But when you're with other people, it takes a little bit more organization. The question says camping versus host homes. Host homes is not exactly the verbiage I would use. I think what they mean are like trail angels. And I didn't stay with very many trail angels in their homes. Actually, only once that I can think of. And in that instance, they were operating it as essentially a PCT Airbnb. They were like, she was like charging people a really reasonable amount of money to either like camp in her garage, but with access to her shower and kitchen and everything, or it was a legit Airbnb that she and her children also lived in, but it was a legit Airbnb. You could also like take one of the rooms. Anyway, I think that was the only time I stayed with a trail angel. Now, other people stayed with a lot more trail angels, so that's not necessarily the normal experience. But I also heard, which, if you're down for an adventure, you're down for an adventure, go have that adventure. People that stayed with other random trail angels in the trail angel's home, I just heard some wild stories, like I think most of the time it was totally fine. Some of the time it was a little awkward, and a very, very, very small amount of the time, but there were some safety issues this year. Around Idlewild, there was a character who was picking up thru-hikers and offering them to stay in his home, and he had less savory intentions. So All that to say, I didn't stay in very many host homes, as this person called it. I would say I didn't stay with very many trail angels in their home. And I probably wouldn't plan for that. It's not predictable. It's really not something you can plan ahead of time. So I wouldn't plan for staying with trail angels. When the opportunity presents itself, if it feels right and it feels safe, go for it. But it's not really something you can kind of plan for. Other than like Scout and Frodo before you start the trail, which just last year was their last year. So it's not an option anymore. Something like that is so established and well known. Felt totally comfortable doing that. But I didn't stay with very many trail angels.
Hello! Hey, if you are sitting there thinking, oh, I want to travel more, I want to go on more adventures, come with me. I host trips around the world. We've been hiking in Patagonia, we went looking for the Northern Lights in Iceland, trekking in Nepal, camping in Banff, Canada, in the Canadian Rockies. We do it all, and we have a real good time. Everyone's welcome, and all the details for any current trips, just click that little bubble up in the top corner, or go to my website, jjb.life/travel. And we almost always make at least one group cringy TikTok. So come hang out with us. We're a real good time.
Okay, next, how did you manage /handle /cope being on trail away from your spouse for months? I had to get off trail early because I missed mine more than I thought I would. Yeah, that's really legitimate. I would say that is one of the number one reasons why people don't finish the PCT is because they just miss their families, their loved ones, and it totally makes sense. My spouse and I met. We were long distance when we met. They're from the Czech Republic, so we started off long distance. So we're no stranger to being apart. I also travel a ton for work, and so we're used to being apart. To a certain degree. This was extreme and it was hard. I mean, I missed them. I missed my dogs. I missed all the things. It's hard. It's hard. And if there's no right or wrong, like relationship style. But if your relationship style is not like ours and you do need to be together more, you don't travel independently, you don't in general spend time apart, it's going to be a bigger challenge. It's going to be a much bigger challenge. It's something we're used to. So it was a little bit easier for us, but even still, it sucked. Like, it's hard. It's hard. Even if like you can get past the like missing them, there's still just the life logistics of all the things, if you live together, if you're married, if you live together and you're not married, all the things that they're having to take on to allow you to do this is not inconsequential. So it's hard. It's complicated. I could talk for hours about it. But how did I manage it? Cope with being away from my spouse? I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. I mean, I knew I was coming home soon, and they knew I was coming home soon. And they were super supportive and willing to take care of all the life logistics while I was gone, but there's no getting around it. It's really hard. Okay, next question. What is one thing you would do differently or pack that you didn't? Okay. I feel like this is two questions. What would I pack that I didn't? So I kind of think I already made this adjustment on trail, but I didn't know when I started hiking the PCT that I would be so into cowboy camping. I didn't realize that I would not want to set up a tent, that I wouldn't want to mess with it, that I would be okay with sleeping on the ground, exposed to the elements and the critters. But that is what happened. So I think the biggest thing that I would not pack, which I changed this out from my tent to my tarp tent during the trail. But next time I wouldn't take, depending on the rain situation, if we were on the AT, this would not be the case. But if I was hiking the PCT, where there's, in general, very little rain, I would not take a tent, and I would have just taken my tarp, which is what I switched to, like partially through the trail. But yeah, I wouldn't have carried a tent because I very rarely set it up. So that's what I would pack pack differently than I did. What would I do differently? Well, no. I think I would have started earlier. I started my start date was April 25th, and it's perfect. Like, that's the perfect middle ground. And this year for the weather situation, it was perfect. It was perfect. It was a perfect start date. But looking back, I think I would have preferred to start a couple weeks earlier to have just a little more leeway in my time. A lot of trail is closed every year for fires. This year, a little bit more trail than usual was closed for fires. But if that hadn't been the case, I would have had a really hard time finishing before the snow came in Washington at the northern border. So it worked out this year. But I think it would have been nice to have had a bit more time. If I had started earlier, I would have run the risk of getting to Kennedy Meadows South before the Sierras were passable. So you totally run the risk of needing to hang out for a while before it's safe or feasible to continue. But I think that would have been nice. I think that would have been nice. I think in the future, I would err on the side of starting a week or two earlier than I think is perfect, just so you have a little more wiggle room. That's what I would have done. Last question. Did you meet up with your sweetie on the trek? No. My spouse and I originally intended to have a meetup in South Lake Tahoe. We spent a lot of time in Tahoe, and so that's what we were pretty stoked for. But I had back issues in Tahoe, and that's an understatement. I had to get off trail in Tahoe for 2 weeks. And that combined with them starting a new job meant that planned rendezvous didn't happen. So we changed, and they were going to come to Sierra City is that Northern California, Oregon? I don't remember. And so then that was the plan, but then my schedule changed yet again. And again, they had just started a new job, and it didn't work out. And so we finally gave up. So no, I went the whole time without seeing them. Yep. And that wasn't ideal. I don't know what it would have been like to see them. I think it would have been amazing. I mean, it's possible it would have made me want to go home and want to quit, maybe. But I don't think so. I think it would have been a really nice boost to my mental health, to be honest. So, no, it didn't work out. It was our intention, but it didn't happen. And if you are doing this in a similar situation, I would advocate for trying to plan for some hangs. I think it makes a big difference. Again, the mental component was unquestionably the biggest component of this whole endeavor. And I think fairly confidently that seeing my spouse, even just once, would have helped. All right, that's all for this video. We have so many more questions, so come back for part 4, 5, 17. There will be more. Like, subscribe, do all those things, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all. Want to watch another video? Click here. Want to learn more about my upcoming trips? Click here. Want to subscribe and like all my videos and turn those bell notifications?